The next motion for tonight's debate is that living downtown is better than in the suburbs. And arguing in favor of this motion is the Prime Minister, Al.
Good evening. The proposition is living downtown is better than in the suburbs. And I'm going to add that especially if one both works and lives downtown. That's how I'm going to define the conditions of the proposition. I'm going to now explain why living downtown leads to a healthier, happier population, which is better. It's healthier because proximity to services that we all use on a daily or weekly basis, the close proximity to those services encourages more walking. And walking leads to a healthier population. And having a healthier population tends to make people happier as well. If you're healthy, you tend to be happier as a result. Being healthier, it costs far less. The number one expense of our provincial governments is healthcare and health service provision of health services. If we have a healthier population, it will allow tax dollars to be spent on other things other than healthcare. So that's why it's also better. The fact that people are both working and living downtown encourages them to use roads less and to also use transit less, allowing the existing transportation networks to service people other than those people living and working downtown. So thereby making those existing services go further. The fact that you spend less time commuting, that's a double?
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. And arguing against the motion, please welcome the Leader of the Opposition, George.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Prime Minister has substantially redefined the regional motion. He added a very substantial stipulation of it is better for one who lives and works in downtown. Let me explain. The people always used to live beside the walls in small towns for safety, basically, not out of choice. Now, people eventually moved out of the towns because they didn't want to stay in the packed, crowded, unhealthy place for good reason. Let me count to you just a couple of reasons, and then I'll come back to the arguments of the Prime Minister. First, suburbia is better. It provides better, more spacious housing for more affordable prices. Recently, me and my wife, we were searching to purchase our first house, and it was like miserable. So in downtown, what we saw in suburbia. Second, better ecology, quality of air, less traffic, less pollution. You have better services, choice of schools for kids, daycare. You won't expect a new, shining, brand new school in downtown, but you would expect it in suburbia. And the last that I'd like to mention, its environment is safer as opposed to the downtown. Again, less traffic and less people, especially weird sort of people. So, you know what I'm talking about. As for the arguments of the Prime Minister, I'd like to mention that he brought up two of them. First, that he has this very important stipulation about the people who work actually in the downtown. So I'd like to remind you that we are talking about the proposition is living downtown is better than in the suburbs. So we're not talking about living in downtown would be better than in suburbs if everyone would work in downtown. And second, for regarding healthy environment, I was always amazed when I saw these joggers running in the heavily polluted air of the downtown. I'm not sure about it. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And for closing remarks, we have Mr. Prime Minister.
The opposition states that the quality of life is better because of fresher air and I would argue that the air would be fresher for everybody if a lot less people were on the roads commuting between two different places. Most of the people who live in the suburbs don't work in the suburbs. They tend to be bedroom communities, so a lot of time is spent commuting. I would put forward that commuting is unnecessary. The intensification that would happen if more people lived in cities would cause the cost to provide services, all kinds of social services, per person in a residentially intensified mode that would happen if more people lived downtown. It would be less expensive per capita to provide those services, thereby allowing funds for other uses, which would make for a healthier society. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. And for the vote for tonight's motion, those who are in favor of the government's argument, please raise your hand. And those who are in favor of the opposition's argument? It is 9 to 16. The motion has been defeated. Thank you.